I think about life sometimes. And as you sort of think about life and as you sort of think about the people around you, you realize that in life, there are really two things that you can be. You can be a winner and you can be a loser. I don't really think there's much in between. And sure, someone's going to say that winning and losing is sort of subjective and it depends on what your goals are. And to all of that, I absolutely agree. However, that doesn't change the fact that you can either win or you can lose. If you set a goal and you get it, you have won. If you set a goal and you don't get it, you have lost. And in the game of life, there are some people that come out on top, and there are plenty of people, I would say most people, that don't come out on top at all. Most people will lose. Now, the next question is, how do we figure out how to not be a loser and how to be a winner? And I would say one of the best ways to kind of figure this out is to take the result that you don't want, reverse engineer how to get it, and do the exact opposite of that result. Does that make sense? For example, if you don't want to be a loser, you need to figure out, what should I do to be a loser? And all the things you come up with, simply do the opposite of those things. And by doing the opposite, it'll guarantee that you won't be a loser and that you will be a winner. So in this video, I'm going to share a few ways that you cannot be a loser. Make sense? All right. So let's start with the first thing. One of the first things that come to mind that will guarantee that you will stay a loser and not be a winner is not being prepared when opportunities arise. And I'll use my own life as an example of this. Oftentimes, I'll see a real estate deal pop up, or I'll see a business that could be invested in, or I'll see any random opportunity, something that could almost guarantee, with a bit of effort, a return on my investment. Now, I've said this before, but I think opportunities are relatively abundant. I think there are always opportunities out there, so I don't think it's necessarily crucial to stress about any situation or any opportunity that you think you've missed. However, I will say that some opportunities are better than others, and sometimes some opportunities will guarantee a higher return on your investment. So, I'll give you an example. During the 2020 situation, the pandemic, a lot of the interest rates were extremely low, super low. The government was basically giving away money. Now, what this means, if the government's giving away so much money because the interest rates are so low, basically means that you can buy a house or you can buy a property with little money down, which ultimately means that you can have a higher return on your investment down the line. Does that make sense? Now, if you're the kind of person that had a lot of money saved up and you were preparing for this economic downturn or this little recession or this pandemic, or if you could predict the future in some way and you had money set aside, you could have been the person to take out different loans on properties that would cash flow, and you could have bought a series of houses. Or if you had a lump sum of cash, of course, you could have probably bought a property in cash, but that's a whole different story. The point that I'm trying to make is that when the opportunity arose, and that opportunity is the low interest rates, had you been prepared for the opportunity, in this situation, had you been more liquid, had you been saving up capital, you would have been able to execute more effectively. You would have been able to buy the properties. And that single point in time would have probably set you off on a far better projected future because you bought a lot of properties during that crucial period of time. And that could have been life-changing. Now, as I mentioned, opportunities, I think, present themselves all the time. Just because you didn't buy a house back then doesn't mean that you'll never be able to buy a house. However, if you take interest rates from 2020 and compare them to interest rates now, they're quite different. Interest rates have gone up significantly, which means that the cost of a house has also increased significantly. So I think that's important to keep in mind. Sometimes opportunities will present themselves, but one way to be a loser and to not be a winner is to not be prepared when those opportunities do come up. And that's one example, bringing up the real estate example. There's a lot of ways to not be prepared, not knowing the right things, not reading enough, not being educated in general, not connecting with the right people, not being in the right location, not being in a mindset of taking action rather than being passive. There's a lot of different ways to not be prepared, but the overall message that I'm trying to deliver to you is that you need to be prepared for when opportunities arise. The second thing I want to bring up that guarantees you will stay a loser is not listening to people around you. I personally think, I have a weird philosophy. I remember I went to college and If you never heard the story, back when I was in college, I got kicked out twice. And once I sort of started to get back into college, my mindset shifted. I realized that the things people were talking about in college were not conducive to a life of success. It almost guaranteed, for the most part, a life of mediocrity. Sure, within that realm of mediocrity, you could be doing great, but I kind of saw past the veil and I saw a different lifestyle or a different quality of living that far exceeded that high quality of mediocrity. And I realized that most of the people I was interacting with, their bar was set so low that for them, great was my new mediocrity. It was their idea of great, to me, was still shit. For example, you might talk to people and they might say, oh yeah, that guy is 20% body fat, or that guy is fat, but that's normal. That's the standard. Or that guy's broke, but that's normal. That's the standard. Or he's got a nice car and he's got a nice house, but he's living paycheck to paycheck, but that's normal. That's the standard. He's still winning because he's got the nice house and the nice car. In my mind, that's mediocre. That's below. That's shit, to be honest. That's horrible. That's a terrible way to live. The thing that kind of shifted my mindset is that I really started paying attention to what people were talking about. And I compared the people that were doing great to the people that were doing just okay or average or below average. I really started to pay attention. And then once you start to pay attention, you kind of pick up key ideas that guide you toward the direction you're going. I remember realizing that the majority of people that had a life worth living, they said things that were so far outside of the norm. It made me realize that 99% of people you talk to are not worth listening to. 99% of the people you're interacting with are mediocre, and they want mediocrity from you, and they seek mediocrity in themselves by default. So once you begin to listen, you can sort of filter and determine who you should be around and who you should not be around. Does that make sense at all? To me, it's key to pay attention to the people around you. Now, I think you can take that same concept and extrapolate. To me, one of the best ways to find an opportunity is to look at what the masses are talking about and do the exact opposite. You can use that idea of just listening in any way possible. You can flip it in any direction. Oftentimes I talk about things like stocks to people, and people will wait for a stock to become popular and then they go to invest. My core philosophy is this: the best stock is the stock that no one's talking about. It's the low price stock that no one has any clue of. It's the stock that no one knows exists. It's that stock that might have been out there for a few years. Maybe they're progressing inside the business, but only a handful of people really know about this business. Only a handful of people really know about that stock. The moment the stock becomes mainstream and the moment everyone knows about it is the moment that it's too late to buy. It's the moment that you should be selling rather than buying, because that's when everyone's gonna jump in, the price will hike up, and then it's not gonna be worth anything. It's not gonna be worth investing in because it's at its peak. It's at its peak value. That's the time when you sell. So the thing that keeps people losers is not paying attention to the correct things. It's not listening to the people around them. Because if you simply listen to what people are talking about around you, it'll help inform what decisions you should make. Again, my rule of thumb, do the opposite of what the 99% of people are doing. If 99% of people are saying we should, for example, buy a single family house just to live in and to never rent out or to never try to cash flow or do any of that stuff, do the opposite. Buy a house, don't live in it, try to cash flow it out, try to get tenants. If the majority of people say you should buy luxury cars because life is short and you should live life to the extreme, YOLO, grab life by the horns, whatever, do the exact opposite. Maybe don't buy a luxury car, maybe buy a cheaper car and try to invest your extra money to make more money down the line. If everyone on the weekend is going out, just drinking at bars, always partying, having fun, do the opposite. Stay home, invest in yourself. Try to find a way to get ahead of all those people going out to the bars. Find a way to own a bar. That could be a different example. That could be another alternative. The point that I want to make is that by simply shutting up and listening to the people around you, you can help inform your own future decisions much better. You can help make better current and future decisions much better, either by doing the opposite of what the masses say or by figuring out what a trend could be and hopping on a trend before it gets super popular. Hope that makes sense. Now, on to point number 3. Point number 3, you don't move quickly enough. Now, I've been guilty of this a lot in my own life, and at this point, you kind of see it in other people. One of the quickest ways, one of the most surefire ways to guarantee you will remain a loser is to not move quickly when things come up that are favorable. There are many different examples I can give up, but I think the simplest one to give that most people, at least most men, can understand is women. Imagine it's a Friday night. You're out at a bar and you see this gorgeous blonde-haired girl wearing a tight red dress at the bar by herself. She looks like she's there by herself. You don't see any guys around. It doesn't look like she has a boyfriend. There were no guys hovering over her. You might see a few guys looking at her, maybe thinking about making a move, but every guy is far too scared of rejection to make that move. They don't know what's going to happen. They don't know if she has a boyfriend just kind of lurking in the crowd, waiting for some guy to talk to his girl so he can like hit him in the face. You don't know if she's going to be maybe super bitchy about it. Maybe she might curse you out or throw a drink in your face or slap you. You don't know what's going to happen. You hesitate, and so you don't make a move. Now, another guy comes to the bar, sees that exact same girl. You know what he does? He approaches her right away, unafraid of what she will say or do. And guess what happens? He leaves the bar that night with your potential future girlfriend. There was a timeline where that could have been your future wife. And in an instant, that guy cut it. Why did he cut it? Because you took too much time to act. You didn't make the decision quickly enough. Your hesitation led to you missing out on a better potential future. Do you understand this? So, one of the most surefire ways to guarantee you are made a loser is to not act quickly enough. When you see an opportunity, do not sit there and overthink about it for days or months or years. Simply do it. If it works out, excellent. That's what you wanted to happen. That was the outcome that you wanted. If it doesn't work out, that's okay too. And the reason why it's okay is because you should be able to pivot. A winner knows how to pivot and make things work in his or her favor. If you're a loser, you are upset about the outcome and you can't pivot. You accept things as they are. Don't be that way. Be quick in your decision making, execute with speed, and be an action taker. And that'll guarantee that you will not stay a loser. Now, this is a fourth thing I want to bring up, and I've already explained this, I've already covered this a bit, but I do want to reemphasize this point. So I'm not making this an official fourth point, but I really want to reemphasize this. To me, one of the most surefire ways you'll stay a loser is just listening to people in general. Listening to the masses. Do not listen to the masses. If there's one takeaway from this video that sticks in your head and that you really execute on, do not listen to the masses. The masses are created in such a way that's geared for you to fail. Think about everything that you can see around you every single day. Think about the way we eat. Think about our education system. Think about our police. Think about everything that we have in society. It's all designed for you to lose. It's designed for you to be mediocre. You don't see the government trying to make you get in better shape or to assign you with any type of regimen or any type of specific nutrition goals. They don't do any of that stuff. You don't see the government or anyone else in society trying to force you to understand taxes or finances or budgeting or how to buy real estate or how to understand an asset versus liability. You don't get any of that stuff. You don't get any courses or anything from the government telling you about the best way to be an attractive male or be an attractive woman. In fact, it's the opposite. Most of what society tells you is division. It's to divide you. It's to make you an adversary to the opposite sex rather than a cohort or a partner to the opposite sex. Does that make sense? Everything in society is designed to keep you weak and to keep you mediocre. So if there's nothing else you take away from this video, do not follow what society says. There's a 99% of people out there in the world that do not care about your best interests. And they're not doing it on purpose. They're doing it because everyone listens to everyone else. And no one's really worth listening to. Or very few people are worth listening to, I'll say that. So, to recap, 3 things you need to do to guarantee that you will stay a loser. And remember, do the opposite of these things. Number 1, don't be prepared. Don't be prepared for any opportunities when they arise. Number 2, listen to the masses. Listen to people around you. Don't listen and keep your ears open for trends or new opportunities or anything that shifts that could be favorable to you. Don't do any of that. And number 3, don't move quickly. Think long about every decision you're going to make. Don't execute quickly. Don't be adaptable. Don't be malleable. Simply wait and hope that things come to you. Remember what society says to you. Good things come to those who wait. Does that make sense? Hope you understand this video. Hope you get a lot out of it. See you in the next video. Keep killing it.